foul. That was absolutely ridiculous.
The Boston Bruins have won the Stanley Cup.
Up on down. Here comes a 1-2 pitch. Red Sox win the World Series.
I don't know. It's tough. Tom's up there, man. Being tough.
What's up, Boston Bruins? Boston Bruins.
Good evening, everybody. I guess I will start because this is the first time I've had an opportunity to acknowledge and thank. I'll start with Trent Frederick. Every one of these decisions have been very difficult over the last weeks in terms of where we are going with player transactions. And Trent Frederick's been a great Bruin. Was there for his draft and development side of things, and just a really, really good person. So I want to wish Trent well in Edmonton. Justin Brazeau, a great story, and working his way up from the East Coast and through Providence, Toronto originally, but then through Providence and becoming an NHL player. And he deserves all the credit in the world for hanging in there and with the conviction to be an NHL player. And Mark McLaughlin, obviously a hometown young man that, again, can't speak enough about his character and personality, and we want to thank him as well for being a Bruin.
Website, build it. I actually hate that part. But anytime I need a new site for...
Charlie Coyle, another hometown favorite, and had been such a key cog in what we had been going out to execute in 19 and coming so close in all the years that he's been here. Again, off the ice, the contribution to the community and his involvement, just can't say enough about him. Brandon Carlo, in a very similar fashion, similar personality. Both those two guys filled with the amount of empathy that you'd admire in your own kids, and if they could be so lucky to have it. Brandon's just a great teammate. He's been a great player for us. Again, there for his draft and coming in and surprising everybody from day one and joining our team. And obviously the captain in Brad Marchand. And, that one goes back a long ways for me and cuts...
Why am I doing that? The reason why I'm doing that is because if you knew how to construct a team from the beginning, you wouldn't be in this situation. If you didn't make so many mistakes prior to this trade deadline, you wouldn't have been in this situation. This team wouldn't have been as garbage as they are right now. Oh, wait a minute! That's right! After the trade deadline, and after we sell everybody, this is when we finally decide to play! We can't even tank properly! This team's such a joke. The operations is a joke. The front office is a joke. This guy's a joke. Cam Neely's a joke. The Jacobs family are a joke too. And the reason why I pulled out the Celtics ring, right, is because sell TD Garden to the Grossbacks. You should have to give up TD Garden upright because of how bad you guys are. Because of how fraudulent of an organization you guys are. You should have to give up the rights to TD Garden to the Celtics. Such a joke.
Deeper than really any player that I've had the privilege of getting to know and watch thrive and become a Hall of Famer and a great one of the greatest Bruins ever. So a difficult day from that standpoint, personally, professionally. It's
the only reason you guys had so much success is because of Bergeron.
To
Great
teams
team.
that we're jealous of. We've been in the same situation with those teams that
The 2011 group and how long they've stuck together.
Done my job appropriately.
That's the only reason why you guys have had success.
We would be adding like we have in 10 previous years. So I'll leave it at that for now, but I'll take your questions.
Both you and Brad have said you wanted to keep him here, if you wanted to stay here. Why were you not able to get that over the goal line?
Just had a gap. Deep down we had been talking, really from day two, I think, of free agency.
So rumor has it right now that Marchand wanted $7.5 million. Bruins were at $6.1. It makes me feel a little bit better, I guess, with the fact that Marchand was basically asking for almost near McAvoy money for multiple years. Because, come on. We appreciate everything you've done for the Bruins, but you really think you're almost worth McAvoy money? What's McAvoy, like an 8.5? Come on, man. Come on. I don't know what the Bruins did to you, but
see in terms of what his intentions were and where we were at, and we always had a bit of a term gap that took us a while and felt that we had been able to bridge that. But again,
did you guys give him to Marchand 7.5? Yes or no? Let me know in the
more than
comment
entitled to have an
I
understanding
personally
of what
would
they
not.
think their market value is and do what's best for them.
I think I
have
said
to
that what
always
he's making
respect
right
that.
now would have been my
There's
limit,
never,
6.5.
an ounce of me that won't respect what that player thinks is
And
best for him.
I thought even that was an overpay.
That's a decision that.
But
was
I would have
made.
done it because I would have loved
And
to have
then
seen
we
him
had to
finish his
make
career
a
in
really,
Boston.
really difficult decision to say, well, let's give Brad another opportunity, with a really good team, and then he can make his decision, as to what he thinks is best moving forward.
Interesting. Send him to a situation to give him the best chance to win this year, I should say. And then let him revisit his options in free agency. Is that what he just said? I could be paraphrasing wrong.
And we had to make a really, really difficult decision to say, well, let's give Brad another opportunity, with a really good team, and then he can make his decision, as to what he thinks is best moving forward.
So the Bruins haven't closed the door on a return for him. Interesting.
X, Y, or Z, or how did this transpire between yourselves and Florida Panthers?
No, I worked off of, Brad's, his representatives have known that there were teams were interested, worked off of his trade restrictions, and we had some conversations right at the very end in terms of what maybe his preference, but not necessarily a specific location, and ultimately we made a decision to, for him to be in the East, and on a really good team.
When it comes to video creation, every detail matters. I go to artlist.io for music that matches.
No, the players that we've identified, and Casey coming in right away, addresses, some of the skill sets needs that you look at our power play that we need to improve upon in some areas, and center ice is an area that we're trying to start to drive play.
Yeah, well, not
He
this
has
year,
the
buddy.
skill set for that. Fraser Minton, from a
Still got Elias
draft
Lindholm on your team,
standpoint,
making
how much we valued
$7.75
his
million.
abilities,
He's
has
a
lot of Charlie
walking.
Coyle's
He's a
qualities as
skating
player,
cone.
and
Does
leadership
nothing on the
qualities
ice.
that
He's just
we
out there for
identified in the
cardio.
draft and subsequently afterwards, again, I hope he grows into, because of the high regard that I have Charlie. And Will Zellers is, one of the top scorers in the USHL, another player that we specifically, had gone after and targeted to add. And you start to look at draft capital that we had been spending over a course of most of the years. It starts to take its toll. And you have to have a little bit of a step back approach at times. Did we come in this morning knowing that we were making every one of these
In terms
moves?
of
No,
selling,
but we
I
were
don't think he did a
prepared
bad
if the
job.
things
I just think
that we would like
we wouldn't have
presented.
had to sell if he did a
And
better job.
Regardless, that's a difficult thing. But the message is clearly not about, we didn't burn it down. We have a lot of guys. Now, a couple of those guys in particular are injured that are big players and pieces for our group. Now we have to do a better job of building around it and charting the course that says we're back. And that's the job.
From a philosophical standpoint, was there any internal struggle?
You gotta tell the goalie to wake up
management
first
as
before
to-
you're back.
We still believe what we believed in 24. That we bring in a couple of big-time guys to add it to the group we had, that this team can contend, but you had like this perfect storm of everything possible that could go wrong, went wrong, and it never wound up recovering with any sustainability. Was there any temptation to say that, look, I know you don't like it, but we really believe that if we tried this again, and we had a fair shake to begin with, as far as circumstance goes, that maybe this thing doesn't go the way it wants?
I think you're right that those are the internal struggles you have as a manager to chart the proper course. If we just run it back, are we risking repeating some of the same mistakes? Have we improved enough? Can we continue to improve? And that's the tipping point, making a decision that says, we've had a good run. We did not complete the ultimate goal. We were close, as close as you're probably going to get other than going to overtime in that game. And those are tremendous players. They've been tremendous Bruins. And now we've got another wave that we have to find and see if we can build back to that area. And I don't think we're going to be far away from being the competitive team that we should and could have been this year for a lot of the reasons. No excuses from the standpoint. Injuries happen to everybody. Getting through those things. The series of games, if you break things down, even last night's hockey game is just one of those things. It's like, man, they played well last night, but they couldn't finish the job in the situation. Again, an unlucky, but luck is only part of it. Injuries are only part of it. And I think you have to be honest with yourself. I think I was honest.
Your team is just not good.
In saying I was going to take what was acknowledged as a cautious approach.
You lost a 25 goal scorer, Jake DeBrusk.
And, clearly we looked at the opportunities in front of us to change the direction of things.
You really think this offense was good coming into the season?
Down. And that's not been part of the
I guess I did, but man. You were supposed to add to the team, not subtract and add. Because I think at the beginning of the season, I had them, same thing, maybe winning the first round and then getting to the second round. No, with the cap that they had last offseason, they should have been able to elevate themselves to getting themselves to the Eastern Conference Final. But they didn't do that. They added and subtracted. Again, here's a few notable names that this guy has let go that has put them in the predicament right now. Taylor Hall, Nick Foligno, Tyler Bertuzzi, Jake DeBrusk, Linus Ullmark. There's 6 names right there I think I just named for you. Within the last 2 seasons. We're not even going back to the year when they had that historic year. We're not even doing that. I guess we did, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. But you haven't been able to surround this new Bruins team, and by new, I mean Pasternak and McAvoy, with the pieces that they need in order to succeed. They came in here with Bergeron. They came in here with Krejci, Marchand, and them. You know what identity they lost? physicality. They've lost... What's the word that I'm looking for? They lost their ability to skate up and down the ice and outskate teams. They've lost that ability. I'm not saying that Pasternak and McAvoy's teams in the past with Bergeron and Krejci were not good. I think besides like the OGs like Bergeron, Krejci, and Marchand or whatever, they weren't surrounded with the right guys. That's what I think. Me personally. And that's because of Don Sweeney.
Organization and won't be.
Injuries aside, just watching this team this year.
This guy blamed the coach twice, and it wasn't the coach. So, like, what's the issue at that point?
Changes that you were making today and maybe in the offseason. What are you kind of...
The issue, man, is you.
Watching this year as the places that...
And by you, I mean the GM.
Go inside the race with Max, the exclusive home for the all-new NASCAR driver cam. Access every in-car camera with...
Well, our power play has struggled all year. And, that's a problem. So we have to address that, but that's both with personnel and systematically maybe and make some adjustments there. So that's been an area that's put some stress on, the overall offensive production.
This guy has
side
done
of things,
a
which is
shit
an area
job
we knew was
drafting
gonna be,
these last 5 years.
Potentially challenged, then if we stayed healthy. Now,
this man
we
is so
set
lucky
out
that
the fact
Bergeron,
that
Krejci, Marchand,
every guy
and
that
those
maybe
guys
some
had
high sides, we
long
didn't
careers as he
predict
did.
that they were going to, but we were below that.
Because, man, he'd be
Now,
screwed
defensively
if
is
they
what-
didn't.
Where the concerns started to come into play, that we were not as tight as what we have been in the past. And good teams get through that. You win in those situations, and we have given it up in those situations. Even I go back to the Ranger game, you're in control of that game. You got Vegas, like you come back in Toronto, like those are big time momentum swings that you're firmly in the playoff hunt at that particular time in carrying out what you need to and execute. And we were unable to do that. So that's both personnel driven, that's addressing some of the deficiencies we have. If we don't have enough scoring, can we not extend a lead? A power play has momentum in a game that says, hey, we can put this away. And it took away at times. And it's not just on the power play. Our penalty killing hasn't been quite as good. So, there are areas that we had underperformance, and we have roster areas that we needed to address. And that's, that starts with me. And the other
Then you
areas
should
that
be
we-
fired then. That starts with you. Yeah, you just admitted you haven't done a good enough job constructing this team. You should be fired. Simple. That's on me. No shit, that's on you. Really?
The players themselves have taken, and they've taken ownership that they haven't played quite as well. But, at the end of the day, going back, Nick's like, we weren't going to just roll it back. And that's probably the message. Like, we needed to turn a page in some regard and do a better job.
I mean,
And
because
that's
of
what
how
we do.
shit of a job you did, you were forced to do that.
Announcement on Marchand yet. Is it one? You get one pick for Marchand, or is there more involved in that?
No, it's one pick.
And was it something for him? You looked at the gap that you had and said, okay, we're going to get the best deal right now. You don't feel confident that he would resign after the season. So were you just at that point looking for the best deal available, or was there a threshold you felt like you had to hit to still make it work?
With his injury, it complicates things a little bit. So you're just basically talking to the teams that are willing to take on that risk in the position they're in, comfortable that he's going to miss the timeline that's likely, and work through it and find out who's willing to take that and do the best job you can for the organization. Ultimately, once the gap was there,
Yeah,
that he
the
wasn't
best
going to sign.
the best decision for the
whether we
organization is
could've taken
getting
the
rid of
time
you,
in between
pal.
now and then, and
Take your
maybe
buddy,
it changes,
Cam Neely, with you.
but the time leading up to it hadn't. And that's where the tipping point is. Says I have to do what's right for the organization.
You fired Cassidy, you fired Montgomery, you thought they were the issue. Nope. The issue is you.
I
Then
don't
it's the
think
players,
that,
obviously.
You're replacing in a singular fashion that when Patrice left or Zdeno left, and now when Brad leaves, it's just really incumbent upon everybody. And I would say the same thing when Brad took over as captain, and he did a tremendous job. But you can't do that job alone. You have to recruit. You have to incorporate other.
Can I pick a Marchand for 1 second, man? I'm sad that Marchand's gone, obviously, and whatever, and like, I really wanted to see him finish his career in Boston. But, bro, you're the captain. You see what Bergeron did at the end of his career? Did you see what Krejci did at the beginning of his career? You keep saying that you wanted to finish your career out in Boston and everything else, but, like, you wouldn't meet in the middle of the negotiations? Listen, I'm not asking you to take minimum like Bergeron and Krejci did. Like, that's crazy. I honestly thought it was crazy for them to take minimum. Because they could have gotten a decent payday out there somewhere else. But they showed they wanted to retire here. They showed that they were Bruins for life. And they wanted to be Bruins for life. You didn't. You're asking for $7.5 million on a contract extension, and you're not willing to budge with the Bruins? We trying to pork this team for the future? If you are the so-called leader and the longest tenured player, and you've gotten your contract, you're not willing to take a slight pay cut? So you can finish your career out here? And you're still going to get paid decent money. $6 million at your age, 36, is good value for you. Man, I'll tell you, these Bruins players in their negotiations from this past offseason, Swayman and now Marchand, I don't know what's going on with them.
People into the leadership aspect, and we'll need to do that moving forward.
His pick is a second rounder that could be a first.
Correct.
How does that become a first round?
He has to play in the playoffs.
Just one game?
No, he's got to play 25% of the games moving forward in the playoffs, the first 2 rounds.
Did you underestimate how the elite tandem goaltending that you had last season and the season before?
Good question! Did you underestimate the elite goaltending that you had last year? Hold on, back this up.
Moving forward in the playoffs, the first 2 rounds.
Did you underestimate how the elite tandem goaltending that you had?
Did you underestimate the elite tandem goaltending that you had last season? Good question. Let's hear it, man. Let's hear it. Let's hear your answer to this.
That they may have inflated your view of what this team was capable of with the goaltending you wound up hitting, which was probably just could be categorized as good.
What a great question.
I would say that I did not underestimate it. I think at times I said that it was.
Then why did you trade Linus Ullmark?
With the goaltending you wound up hitting, which was probably just could be categorized as good.
I would say that I did not underestimate it. I think at times I said that it was a distinct advantage for us to roll out, a goaltender who was at the top of his game, well rested in every situation that we had, for a couple of years. And did it cover up? Did it help? Well, we offset that somewhere else. It was a position of strength.
It clearly
was, and they fed off.
And you
of it,
traded
and
him.
They were very, very good. And ultimately, we had to make a decision based on where our roster construction was moving forward.
And you fumbled that.
Have we taken a team-wide step back? Yeah, for reasons as I discussed. Defensively, we haven't been as good. Penalty killing hasn't been as good.
Your goaltender that you paid $60-something million hasn't been good, but okay.
A more cautious approach to bringing McAvoy back, and whether
Nah, he got to sit the rest of the year.
All this year now, based on where the roster is and the conduct.
Charlie's return to play will be solely on his health and what the medical staff, says that he's ready to play.
If you bring him back this year, I
he's
swear to
a
God.
driven player, and he's going to want to play when he's healthy to play, and he's happy to see him start to have a slow progression back onto the ice and, turning the corner, but it'll be a sole middle.
It's got to be like a Dallas Mavericks
when he's ready to
situation.
play.
Shut it down.
Who's headed to Tampa? It could be. Will be in the NHL roster. Who's headed to is Minden going to the NHL right away? Or
So Kustadinov and Lauko are in Tampa. Middlestad is en route to Tampa. Fraser Minton is actually in Providence because they were playing the Marlies tonight with unfortunate immigration. You can't change locker rooms like maybe they do in the old days and play for Providence tonight, but we will get that sorted out in short order.
Skill set, what do you see from him?
Okay. Ready.
Some things are hard to do yourself.
Again, it has a lot of the Charlie Coyle qualities. He's a left shot, but he has matchup capabilities. He's got physical strength. He skates well, shoots the puck well. Leadership roles that he's had in his previous team. And talking to the people that have been around the Marlies and the Leafs now, he's a confident kid in that regard, comfortable in his own skin to go out and play to the level and to his skill set, albeit wants to continue to improve. So we're excited about what his upside is.
So when you look at that trade, was that more, Carlo has terms though, it's a pretty affordable contract. Was that Toronto being eager to make that move, or were you guys targeting Hinton or a combination?
I think it's looking at the whole landscape of how many teams were involved in adding defense and where we could maximize. Ultimately, that's what usually it comes down to. Obviously, it's curiosity that it's Toronto and in division, but Buffalo and Ottawa made a pretty significant trade their own right today. So I think some of that has been dispelled in terms of maybe not a idyllic trade partner. But yeah, Fraser's further along in terms of where the development of other players were, and it wasn't just as we tried to identify. It wasn't just about draft picks and draft capital. It was finding players that were in areas of that we wanted to address with our organization, and we've tried to do that.
The fact that you did so much over the last couple of days, how much of that do you think was shaped by just the market and the really good returns that were coming in?
It was an aggressive market all the way around. You really saw some teams even making one or two. They were, and we've done it. We've been right there in terms of, only one team's win, and we certainly didn't when we really loaded up in that sense. But
the only year I really don't fault you was 2020.
Even adding Johansson late in that, that deadline side of it.
2 and 2023.
We could really address the depth side of it. So
that was a historic year, I think.
I actually.
But even there, still, you shouldn't have fired Bruce Cassidy.
If they feel like they're in a position, then they should go for it. That's what this league is all about, and trying to win. His timeline, is probably 3 to 4 weeks.
I'll tell you what, man. You've made some of my takes age like milk. I'll tell you that. There's some videos on my channel where I look like a complete idiot because of you.
How supportive are they of this direction?
I mean, the ownership has always been supportive in the mandate of getting better. Ultimately, when you're not in the position you need to be and are expected to be, then what are the changes you can make first and foremost, and the ones you want to make is paramount, because those two things sometimes are different. Sometimes you want to do things that don't materialize, and you have to wait and be patient. Ownership is acutely aware of every move that we're making for the right reasons that we hope all turn out, and we know we're sort of taking a step back in the course of the season because we haven't been to the level we need to be, but the mandate is like, hey, let's get this right and make the right decisions moving forward, and today was part of that. It wasn't coming in today and saying we're doing every one of these moves. They have to present and materialize, and to Hags' point of saying teams were aggressive, and does that present an opportunity? And it does. It doesn't mean you have to pull it and execute it, but it does present an opportunity, and that's what, that's really what our fan base needs to hear, that we're trying to put things in a position where we're right back in that competitive mode set very next year and doing things right.
Yeah, sure, okay. Yeah, you won't be. Hopefully, you won't be here next year for that.
I felt bad for Joe, obviously, last night in talking to him because I thought the team played well, and he's even admitted that he's, trying to get them to be at that level on a consistent basis has been at times challenging and perplexing, and as all coaches go through that. That's the inconsistency piece that our team has unfortunately gone through, and, obviously missing Hampus and Charlie and, key players are a part of that. But that's a dangerous environment to go into last night, and they played very well. We didn't get the result we wanted, and that's what Joe is ultimately frustrated about. But that's how he looks at things. Now, today is a real, in some ways, personal relationships that he has with other players. He's had a long history with those players. So it's you upset the apple cart in Joe's world today. Now he needs to pick up the pieces and, work back through where guys are going to play, what their strengths are, and how they can help us tomorrow. And he's been good that way, really good.
Is anyone weird to see?
No.
This team is sort of a mix of a lot of different qualities. You said that, if you did your job, it'd be fine. You made a coaching change, now the captain traded, 2 guys are terminally traded. What do you want the identity of this team to be moving forward? Do you think it has to change from what it's been for,
Can't even get what you guys
pressure.
Always.
franchise history for the last recent 28 years?
I mean, we thought we had a very good team a few years ago, and, we didn't get it done. If I could duplicate that team and take another run and learn from what we did not right in the key moments, I'd do it. Like, they could play any style game. They stuck up for each other. They scored better than what this team was capable of this year, in my opinion, and how we executed. Power play is part of that. We had 2 units that sort of pushed each other. So, yeah, there's an overall depth aspect of that. There's a commitment to defend and execute. That has to be part. If you look at the best teams in the league, and Edmonton did it last year, they recommitted. They can score. They have 2 of the best players in the world, but they committed to defending last year. And Florida did it 2 years before that in the middle of the season. And they've added to that. And you can get that momentum on your side if everybody's bought in. But you have to have that philosophy. So stylistically, Middlestats is a departure to some degree. Thinking about trading Charlie Coyle and the identities that he brings to the table and what Middlestat might, they're different players. And we've been void a little bit of that, so we're taking that opportunity with a backfill that we think Fraser Mitten can hopefully come in and do some of those things. That may have been a departure. We're clearly not, you lose Charlie, he's a primary penalty killer, he's a face-off guy. Obviously Lindholm has picked up a lot of those things, so he has to. Now you see Geeky's actually, doing a good job in the power play. Just he go on and help that, but now we have another left shot guy on a half wall. And those are the things we're trying to identify in deficiencies and identify who's available and bring them in.
Do you feel like he was a guy that was been part of what you were building toward? Do you feel like what your opinion of his value and his opinion of his value is as a restricted free agent are close enough to be moving forward together?
I mean, Morgan, he's done a great job. Obviously, we've been presented with he's earned, not just presented, but he's earned more opportunity. Now he's riding shotgun in a very productive line, and he's taking advantage of it. And it's great on him. Can he continue to expand his game and be one of the building blocks and core pieces moving forward? That's what we're going to try and find out this summer in contract stuff. We did try, and we've tried with Freddie. People have reported that we weren't excited about signing Trent. We were in long talks with Trent on a long-term contract. We just didn't find the common ground. And again, that's okay. Players have their rights, and that's perfectly understandable, when you're going through it. And also location of where a player may prefer to play. It's all part of the process. So going back to Geeks, like, he's identified this is a place he wants to play, and that we got work to do to find a contract, and that's what we'll do. I believe we'll get one done.
You wound up using him as a second-line center at the end of last season and for the playoffs, and he did very well. It seems like one of the best things you've done as GM is identify players that are out in the league somewhere and elevate them. Zaka, perfect example. Do you anticipate yourself, now that you've said that this is not a tear down, it's not a rebuild per se, of being aggressive at the draft or at the, during the draft or during the July 1 and trying to identify more guys to.
If this guy's in charge of the
you
draft for the Bruins,
pick out
I'm
this-
jumping off the Tobin.
Try to get them to another level on this team, to kind of try to fill this out now?
It's what the scouts and stuff do every night when they're at games. They're trying to identify the players maybe being used in a different role. Can he play a little different role in our environment with more opportunity? In case he might be hopefully the next example of that. Wasn't playing on their primary power play. Can he, which he was in Buffalo and doing a good job. So, yeah, those are the areas. The margins are small, and very few of those players necessarily slip through the cracks. It's hard, right? The players are good young players, and so it's difficult. But yeah, that's what you're tasked to do. Again, not to talk about other teams, but Buffalo made an interesting trade today, right? So that's what we made a trade where it's Middlestat and Coyle. They're different players. We have an area that we would like to address. So yeah, 100%. And that's what, the development, the draft, the guys that are in the league are a little further along. The projection might be a little easier, but you never know until you've okay, we're going to give this player a little more rope and a little more of the opportunity and see if he can run with it.
We talked a lot about the on-ice stuff, obviously, that spurred on the moves today, but was there an element in your mind of, in the room, the chemistry mix needing to be shook up, changed, something like that at this point too? Did that play into the number of moves and some of the guys in term and just the vast number of moves that go into it?
I mean, we have to be very realistic and honest with ourselves to say, okay, we've sort of shaken up the leadership part of what this group has been and how it's grown along. We've done that. Now we have to be hell-bent on finding the people that can complement that, and also, the growth of the internal guys that are going to now be in those. Now, they've been sort of on the cusp of that and interior of that, and Charlie and David are the two most prime examples, right? So now, can't overload them. How do we surround it? And actually, in talking with those guys today, it's like where Shattenkirk and Van Riemsdyk last year, they did a really good job of doing that. So we have to be cognizant. We have to be honest with ourselves that says, how do we improve in that area as an organization, because it's been a strength of ours. And, whether we did a good enough job, whether the injuries factored into some of that, again, Linus leaving, from Sway and the tandem part of it, all those things are new dynamics. And now we have to learn from them and make sure we do a better job.
What was David or Charlie's reactions when you talked to them?
Again, those conversations are private. I referenced that I spoke to them because I think it's important that I do as a manager and allow them to share how they are feeling, and I'm the same. So, but I'll leave those private. But I think it's important, given the position they have in this organization, the commitment they've made.
Time for two more. You mentioned the gap between your camp, yourself, and Brad. Do you think that gap is impossible to close? Or do you think that door is shut, or is there still a possibility that down the road the sides could reconvene?
I mean, that's probably a better question for Brad at this point in time, and the emotions that he's going through. I love Brad. I've said all along we've been trying to sign Brad all year long. We just, we had a gap there, and I respect that, where he believes his market value is, and I hope he respects our position because he's beloved here. I would never close the door.
Anyone else? You had a defenseman going to Tampa, or you one short right now?
Yoka Harju, Henry's on his way there as well. If I left that out, I apologize.
Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah, bum. Yeah, get ready to learn. I don't even know. I don't even know what's the equivalent to Chinese in the NHL. Somebody let me know in the comment section. Whatever language he's got to start learning, he's got to learn, because it's definitely not here in Boston. So, what should I do? What should I say? Oh, okay, here we go. Yeah, get ready to learn Utah Hockey Club, buddy. That's gonna do it for this video here. I mean, I expected this trade deadline to go out the way it did, but some of the names that were traded shocked me. Coyle was one of them. Marchand was the other one. I actually don't mind them trading Brandon Carlo. I didn't really mind them trading Trent Frederick. I didn't mind them trading Brazeau. Coyle and Marchand were like the only real two, like, I was like, huh? Did not expect him to do that. But you guys know where I stand on the trade deadline. I'm more pissed at the fact that because of his job that he's done, it got the Bruins into this predicament to begin with. And, like, he made a coaching change at the beginning of the year. He also said on the press conference at that time when he fired Jim Montgomery that these are the type of decisions where jobs start to get on the line, and he failed. He made the wrong decision there, too. So, if we're going based off of his word, he should be fired at the end of the season. So, that's going to do it for this video here. Again, leave a thumbs up if you guys enjoyed. Subscribe if you guys knew. You guys know what to do. Go check out the website. Links in the description down below. Thank you guys for watching this one. It's been your boy Jesse. We'll see you guys in the next video. Later, guys.